Our recent visit to St. Thomas on a Princess cruise was absolutely amazing, from parrots and sea turtles to shopping and game shows. If you're interested in any of my cruise prep videos, like ocean medallions and packing, I will link all of that in the description box down below. And be sure to subscribe and ring the little bell for notifications because I have all kinds of really great cruise videos still to come. Other than Princess Keys, which is Princess Cruise Line's private beach, St. Thomas was our first real port of call on our itinerary for this cruise. We had pre-booked an excursion, but it was starting a little later in the morning, so after grabbing a quick bite to eat at the buffet, we decided to hit up the port and do a little bit of quick shopping. As soon as you get off the pier, you're in a pretty substantial shopping area with all the sort of standard Caribbean shops. So we wandered a little bit, picked up a few souvenirs, and that will be all in my souvenir haul video, which will be linked down below. We wandered a little bit and found a variety of shops and restaurants, the Pirates Treasure Museum, and a skyride gondola up to Paradise Point. It seemed like there was actually a pretty good amount of stuff to do in this port, but we were kind of sticking close to the ship so we could get back in time for our excursion. But if you're looking for something a little more familiar and close to home, there's a Wendy's and a Kmart within reasonable walking distance of the pier. There did seem to be a good number of places that were closed up, particularly at the Havensight Mall, but I'm gonna blame at least part of that on the fact that we were there on a Sunday morning. Then we went back to the ship and grabbed a quick lunch at the Salty Dog Grill before changing into our swimwear for our snorkeling excursion. As is pretty typical for a cruise, we met for our excursion directly off the ship on the pier. Then, as a group, we all walked down to the other end of the pier to board a smaller boat to head towards our excursion. We took a quick boat ride out to Buck Island, and honestly, just the trip out there and back on the little boat was probably worth the time. During the trip out, the excursion staff handed out any snorkeling equipment to anybody that needed it. So if you had a mask but needed a vest, or if you needed everything, they covered anything you needed. Once we got to the island and everybody was suited up, we started getting into the water. And while everybody was getting in and getting acclimated and used to the gear, some of the staff went out scouting for sea turtles. Sure enough, pretty soon, there she was, my first sea turtle that I got to snorkel with, and it was amazing. It was pretty sad that this particular turtle was missing her back right fin, but it did make it kind of interesting in that that made her a very familiar turtle to this guide. She said that she sees this particular turtle pretty frequently, she stays pretty close to this bay, so they're very familiar with that turtle, which I thought was kind of interesting. The turtle stuck around, so pretty much everybody got a chance to get fairly reasonably close to her. She even came up for air once while we were all there, so everybody got a snorkel with a turtle experience, which was pretty amazing. Eventually, our guide gathered everybody up and started heading over to the second location for this excursion. And I just happened to sort of turn to do a panning shot underwater out to sea, and I happened to see a second sea turtle. I purposely hung back so I could get a couple good shots without a lot of people in them, so everybody else was pretty much gone and didn't get to see the second turtle, but I'm pretty thankful that I did. Our second location was a shipwreck right there, also at Buck Island. The ship had originally sunk elsewhere near St. Thomas, and they were originally just going to break up and get rid of the entire shipwreck, but a lot of the local divers were really attached to it, so they all grouped together, gathered up the funds, and just had the entire shipwreck moved over to Buck Island because that's sort of a protected site. So now divers can still go and swim at that shipwreck. It isn't completely gone, but it's out of the way at the main port. Don't get me wrong, the shipwreck was definitely interesting, it was very cool, but after seeing the sea turtles, it was a little bit of a letdown. After the dive, they gathered up all the snorkel equipment and handed out some drinks to enjoy on our lovely boat ride back to the ship. And once we were back at the pier, the Princess Cruise staff again greeted us with ice water and cool, damp towels. We were heading back to our staterooms to get cleaned up, and we happened to pass through the piazza, and randomly there were these big, beautiful, bright parrots there, and they were gorgeous. They were blocked off so you couldn't get right to them, but you could get very close and get some pictures, get some close-ups, and get a nice close view of them. They were absolutely gorgeous. After getting dressed for dinner, we headed up to the deck to take in St. Thomas by night with some beautiful live steel drum music playing right there on deck. Then we headed down for another amazing dinner in the Da Vinci dining room. After dinner, we headed over to the Explorers Lounge for the night's entertainment, which was one of their game show events. This time it was the Majority Rules game show, and it was hilarious. Definitely something to take in. What's the coolest thing you've ever seen while snorkeling? Let me know in the comments down below, because I'm absolutely loving snorkeling. I hope you enjoyed this wonderful little sneak peek into our day at St. Thomas. If you did, please like the video and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, because I still have plenty of really cool and informative cruise videos to come. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.